Hi there, welcome to this week's Weekend Warrior video. I'm Mike Watchmaker, National Handicapper for Daily Racing Form. The three stakes races I'm going to talk about for this week's Warrior are the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup at Keeneland, the Pebble Stakes at Belmont Park, and the West Virginia Breeders' Classic at Charlestown. But let's begin with the QE2 Cup, and it's got a very strong field of three-year-old filly turf horses. And with all due respect to everybody else in this race, I really think there are four main players in this race, and let's talk about them in post-position order. Number two is Proctor's Ledge. She's the first main player I'll discuss. Proctor's Ledge has just been a completely different filly since getting Lasix 2 starts ago. She was very strong, winning the Lake George Stakes at Saratoga 2 starts back, and then she followed up with another convincing victory in the Lake Placid Stakes, again up at Saratoga in her most recent appearance. Number 7, Wuhida, is the second of these four main players, at least to my way of thinking. Wuhida comes in from Europe, where she is a legitimate Group 1 stakes winning filly. As a matter of fact, she won a Group 1 last fall in her final start as a 2-year-old and finished second in another one in her first start this year and finished a very close fourth in another one most recently. Number 10, Uni, I think is a dangerous horse in this race. Uni finished second to Proctor's Ledge in the Lake Placid 2 starts back when when both she and Proctor's Ledge were compromised by slow early paces. Uni was much further behind Proctor's Ledge in the early stages of that race, and Proctor's Ledge got the critical first jump on Uni. But Uni did manage to close the gap late and finish strongly to finish second. And then last time out, Uni overcame a slow pace to win the Sands Point, much to her credit. And then on the outside is New Money Honey, who's probably the most accomplished 3-year-old turf filly that we have in this country. She won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf last fall. And before a failed attempt on dirt last time out in the very tough Alabama Stakes, so I say that the Alabama was very tough because the first two finishers in that race, Elate and It As Well, both came back to win Grade 1 races in their next starts. But before the Alabama, New Money Honey won the Belmont Oaks and won the Wonder Again Stakes. But the thing of it is that in both of those races, New Money Honey got absolutely ideal trips. I will admit, and I wrote it in the Weekend Warrior column that you can see online or in print, I am scared to death of Proctor's Ledge in this race, but I just have to go with the Wuhida. I think that Wuhida might have a distinct class edge on this field. She not only is she, like I said, a legit Group 1 stakes winner in Europe, but last time out at a distance of 1.25 miles, which might be a touch beyond her best, she was only beaten a half length against some very good horses in the Prix de l'Opera at Chantilly. The other thing about Wuhida, well, there are actually two other things. First, she's first-time Lasix, and the other thing is the weather forecast for Keeneland is very good. I think this race is going to be run on firm turf. And it's noteworthy that the three best finishes in Wuhida's career came in her 3 starts on the firmest turf courses she's encountered. So I think she's going to really like the footing too. So it's Wuhida for me in the Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup, but I am scared, very scared of Proctor's Ledge. Let's move on to the Pebble Stakes, which is one of 2 stakes Saturday at Belmont Park. And Rubelinda is going to take a lot of money in this race, but she's taken a lot of money in all 3 of her starts. This Franco filly, in fact, has a reputation that probably exceeds what she's actually managed to accomplish on the racetrack. She has won 2 of her 3 career starts, including the 6 furlong Christie Cat Stakes most recently. I just think that she's going to be overbet. And I also wonder that at this still early stage of her career, whether the stretch out to 1 mile is really what she wants. Because 2 starts back, her only attempt beyond 6 furlongs, she was beaten at 2-5, going 7 furlongs. She finished second in that race, but without an excuse, at least in my way of thinking. Rubelinda is trained by Chad Brown. I actually like the other Chad Brown horse in this race, and that's Thais. Thais, who was Group 3 stakes placed in France earlier in her career, made her U.S. debut late in the Saratoga meet in an allowance race, and she came from off the pace to finish second. But that was at a time in the Saratoga meet where speed was carried very well on turf, and I think she might have been going against the grain of the way the inner turf course was playing. Even so, she ran well enough with only minimal improvement to make me think that she can win this race, so it's Thais for me in the Pebbles. Let's wrap this up with the West Virginia Breeders' Classic. Yes, I know I'm using a West Virginia bred race in the Weekend Warrior. It's not something I really want to do, but now that the Breeders' Cup preps are completed, it was kind of slim pickings on the stakes front Saturday. And also, this is, for the purse of $350,000, the second richest race on Saturday's schedule. And I also use this race because I think there's a vulnerable favorite in there. And the favorite's going to be Charitable Annuity. And certainly the mile and eighth distance is very much in Charitable Annuity's favor because he's 5 for 10 in his career going a mile and an eighth, whereas the rest of the field, and the rest of the field, when you include the 3 also eligibles, means 12 other opponents, have only won 5 races combined going a mile and an eighth. In other words, there are a lot of horses in this race that really don't want this mile and an eighth distance. But the thing about Charitable Annuity, and the reason why I think he's a little bit vulnerable, is he was beaten favorite in his last 2 starts, and he didn't really run well in either one of those races. And I just wonder if he's in good form at the moment. I think Weekend Liberty, who's 15 to 1 in the morning line, who I picked here, has a real puncher's chance to upset this race. One thing you could say about Weekend Liberty is that he will like the distance. He is one of the few true route horses in this race. He comes into this off a June layoff, but he's run well fresh in the past. And he's also trained by Jeff Runco, who's got excellent number with layoff horses in this kind of situation. So I'm going to take Weekend Liberty to upset the West Virginia Breeders' Classic on Saturday night. This is 11:30 post Eastern for this race. So everybody stay awake, drink lots of coffee. Anyway, that's it for this week's Weekend Warrior. Thanks for watching.